Welcome, everyone, to Your Move. I am your host, Adrienne Lazovick, and on this show, we talk about real estate agents' smartest move, which is to Epique Realty. I am super excited today because we have an amazing guest for you. His name is Chuck Wells. And if you don't know Mr. Chuck Wells, which I hope you will get to know him very shortly, he is an amazing, nationally renowned agent coach, production coach. He's also a team leader of a team himself. He's been in production for years, and he has been such an amazing inspiration since joining Epique Realty. I'm so glad to have you here today, Chuck. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Adrienne. I'm glad to be here.
Well, thanks so much. I've gotten to know you over time, and I think there's still so much more that I need to know. But for all of our guests who may not know you, do you want to give us a little bit of a background on yourself, your history in real estate? We'd love to know.
Sure. So, as Adrienne said, I have been licensed for a number of years, 20 plus, let's just put it that way. And the trajectory, or just in my interest, led me into coaching and training at a higher level around 2016 when I had the opportunity to become an agent coach within a brokerage itself. And after being in that role about 4 years, I moved on to a national coaching and training company and held that role for 5 years. As Adrian said, working with agent productivity, but also working with leadership development and pouring into those broker owners to be stronger leaders and more well-rounded and sustainable in their businesses. Recently, I have made the decision. I came on board with Epic as a licensee in May of 2024. And about a month ago, but really, I guess time flies, 2 months ago, I made the decision to take a leap of faith and pull my whole life and business into Epic and not just my team that is in production. So that's where we are today.
Yeah, we're celebrating your 1 year at Epic, so congratulations.
Thank you.
And again, every day we're surprised with something else that you bring to the table. And we're not getting into ages here, but we got to ask you. My joke or my thing is that I say, all roads lead to real estate. So, what were you doing before real estate? Was it something different?
Yes. Out of college, I went into management of retail stores. And so I was in small box retail, clothing retail, in that role for about 8 years, and I liked it. I liked the just the variety day to day, season to season. Yet I also found that I was really desiring to make a career and for myself and pave my own future rather than being that manager of a store and working for others and I guess stuffing their pockets, so to speak. And I'd always had a curiosity around design, around houses, but also in business relationships. And so a past manager that was on one of my management teams had gotten a real estate license, and she was actually with a Keller Williams franchise at that time. And we ran into each other at an arts festival, and she said, "Hey, we need to talk." And really, the rest became history because she planted that seed, and I thought there's no better time than now. And so that began my journey.
Yeah, awesome. I would say that I think that all things in common, you just have to be a good people person to really want to be in real estate, right?
Right, definitely. I am the first as a coach to say that everyone belongs. There is a fit for everyone as long as, you treat it like a job and you are professional. It's for yours to be had. However, there are some certain natural talents and strengths that help along the way. And being that people person, also being very knowledge driven or numbers driven, there's definitely a place for those individuals in our world of real estate as well.
I'm
But yes,
smiling because I knew I was never the numbers person. I'm the people person, but I've never been the numbers person.
right.
But fast forwarding now to where you're at, right? So you've had this amazing resume in real estate. So I have to ask for someone with your experience, with your accolades, what was it about Epic Realty that made you say, this is the move I need to make right now in my career? Whether or not it was something that you knew was going to be huge. What was it about the company? If it could be one thing, a couple of things, what would you say it was like, yep, this is where I need to be?
Man, I would
Oh, it's
have
a
to
tough
say,
one.
you're right.
It's a
I
tough
know, just to
one.
come up with a couple of things.
Yeah.
I have to say, because I was networked in my coaching career at the time, I started seeing Epic pop up on social media. And I started seeing a handful of agents that I knew here in the Oklahoma City market announcing that they were now affiliating with Epic. So that caught my attention because I just like to be in the know. What are the trends in housing, but what are the trends in real estate industry, as a whole, and what's happening with companies and their business models, et cetera. So once I really took notice, some of the first things that caught my attention were the perks, the benefits. And
Yeah.
I just thought, well, this is different. And I liked that Epic was taking a stand and paving the way not only for themselves, yet looking to influence other franchises and even independent owners, within the industry as well. Then, as
Mhm.
I dug deeper, I had a dear friend of mine that was she actually was looking to open her own brokerage. And through conversation, because I love speaking with those that are in leadership roles or desiring to be there, we really determined in what her ideal brokerage model and her ideal agent really was not going to be financially successful for
Right.
her. And there's reasons, and we won't get into all of that. However, I left the conversation with her saying, where there's a will, there's a way, and I know there's a place. We just have to find it. And so, fast forward about a month to 2 months after that conversation, I started deep diving more into Epic, and I was looking at the teams, and then not only the teams but the agent focus, and then where there is a very a culture of support, a culture of given, a culture of anti-discrimination. And so I went back to my friend Kelly and I said, hey, I think I've landed with the place you need to consider. So within about 30 days, we formed an LLC, and I joined right alongside with her, and we formed the team, and we came on to Epic as the Advocate Group.
And isn't it so nice to have a random stranger nagging you just to make sure that you know that brokerage exists and making sure that you should be here? I mean,
Right, right, right. And Adrian, I've said it once, more than once, and I'll say it again. I thank you for following up and being consistent in your follow-up with me
this show is
because,
not about me though, but
well,
just like I
right,
think that's a
right.
lesson. There is one lesson that I think that comes through in real estate in general. And again, I've been in different sales positions, and the fortune really is in the follow-up.
Yes.
But I will say I do way better with approaching strangers than I would be approaching anyone I knew in my life to come over. It just feels salesy to me. And I would rather you know what I mean? I'd rather just kind of like be rejected by a stranger, right? But I'm glad that it worked out. And
Yeah.
I will preface this with obviously there's not one brokerage that is for everybody, right? It different strokes for different folks, different places for where you're at in your career. And we know so many people are licensed, they might not even, work full time. But the reason why, like, I want to talk to people like you is because, obviously it can be for any agent, but also I consider you to be on a different level. And it's like, well, if this could attract somebody like you, what was it about it? And what can we learn from you? And I'm also always open to being honest. We are a startup company. We're only a few years in the business. So I want to ask you, because we've all had our ups and downs. Once you joined, did you have any fears or hesitations about moving forward and like really what that looked like? And if you had made, a bad decision, or were there any, you tend to speak very positively and you always have the right thing to say, but like, was there anything going on in your mind that said I made a mistake?
I never on in this I am 150% honest. There has never been a thought of I made a mistake, or was this a wrong move, or second guessing myself. And
Mhm.
and I didn't spend, like 2 or 3 years just sitting on the sideline waiting and watching because it excited me to be a part of a younger company.
Right.
It had already Epic had already been in existence for a bit, but it that excited me. And also I could tell from the even down to the videos by Josh, one of our founders and owners, and diving into the joinepic.com platform and how professional the benefits were featured. I thought, okay, that's how I want to appear to others. So if this company is appearing that way to me, this is a win. And of course, then I dug into the independent contractor agreement and the like the mission statement and the core values and the just everything I kept finding. I just kept feeling alignment. And
Mhm.
it was the timing and it's where, I was in my mind and my soul. And we happened to connect at the right time.
Yeah, opportunity. Sometimes you're not
Yes.
looking for the door, but the door just kind of opens right in your face. And we need those little, clues to be like, hey, you should be here, doing this
Right.
right now,
Right.
But speaking of the, Josh and everything that you mentioned with inclusion, I even get, not frustrated, but everybody uses a lot of buzzwords too. And I've even found now that agents don't like talking about the word culture because that doesn't really represent or talk about like what they mean about the company. Because like, we're not family members, but we all share the same brokerage. So although it can be difficult to explain the culture and the core values at Epic, if you were to do your best and verbalize it to an agent who has never heard of us before, or somebody that might be looking to get to the next step in their career, maybe had some bad experiences previously with another brokerage, is there any way that you could like describe Epic to somebody in terms of like how you feel our culture?
Definitely. A a comparison I use from time to time is when I have been to Epic events, large or small, I look around and there is talent in the room, and there's future talent in the room. And it really, not everyone's not there to like carry an ego and compete against one another. It's almost like everyone has chosen this chapter in their life, and when they walk in that door, they just exhale
Mhm.
and be themselves. If I use one word to really describe Epic, its leadership, I mean, there's numerous words, but one word that really comes to mind is authenticity. Down to Josh, Christopher, and Janice logging in and verbally, with speaking everyone's name that week that has a birthday, everyone's name that week that has an anniversary, and they're committed to always being able to do that. When you go to an event, they're not off limits.
Right.
They mingle, they come up to you, they'll sit down at your table and start eating with you. And so that authenticity really, it's from the top down because when leadership is being them, their true selves, it gives everyone else permission to be so as well. And then I love one of the policies we have in our ICA
I know,
booklet
I know this one.
is great, is the no a-hole policy. And I love that it's just language. We all know what it means. It's not overly complicated. It's just like, don't be it, you know?
Right.
And yet they stand behind it.
You do.
And because there have been people removed because of their actions. And so, that just to me, I can take pride in being who I am and knowing that the ownership and leadership are doing the same, but they also have my back along the way.
They act quickly too. You
Yes.
know,
Yes.
it's not just talk. It's most of it's action before you even hear about it, which I appreciate,
Yes.
because although I'm more so in a, recruiting role per se, not like any official role, I will say that I'm not a big fan of the celebrityism in real estate, like the who's who of real estate, because if you're a client, you don't know any you don't know any better. You don't know what agent attraction is. You don't know how many agents this person has in their downline. So I think that they're doing a really good job of keeping the real estate in the brokerage, right? Focusing on that and focusing on the agent.
I agree. And, even to display their thought process and everyone being in this together and they're not being the clicks and the dress to impress. At the meetups, we have t-shirts that are typically handed out and you're encouraged to wear them. Just be chill, be yourself, and it's kind of like wearing uniforms, for the kiddos at school. It's just like we all become epic rather than having the clicks and the little silos of people.
Right. And so, would you say Epic is for everyone? I know the answer to this, and I don't know if you can specifically say, like, this agent would not do well at Epic, but truth is Epic for everybody?
Hmm. I would have to say that that's a no. Because there are going to be individuals within our industry that are extremely competitive. And good for them. I mean, that's how they're wired. That's how they find achievement, and that's the path of success for them. And I have witnessed people, backstabbing others. I mean, outside of Epic, backstabbing others or stepping on people to achieve. And that's what's not tolerated here. When you're doing damage to others, you don't belong in Epic. So if that's how you're wired, and if you really need the accolades and the big shout outs, there's
Hmm.
other arenas that
Yeah.
you
Do you
can
even think a new agent would be good at Epic?
definitely.
Okay.
What I love about Epic and what can be scary to some is that we are cloud-based. We are a virtual company. And so the knee-jerk reaction a lot of times for agents, new and tenured, is, oh my gosh, I want a street address that I can drive to and walk in the door if I need help. Well, you do. We have virtual streets, and but one of the levels or one of the layers that I love is our area leaders within Epic. So, and the best way to describe that is it's someone that is skilled in the industry, also working on their leadership skills, and they mentor. They're your lifelong mentor. They mentor anywhere from maybe a dozen to 2 dozen, who knows, maybe more depending on their bandwidth,
Mhm.
agents, and it's in specific areas. And so they're your support system. They host continuing ed events, they host coffee meetups, they host community like volunteering opportunities. And the idea is to create community and connection there so that we don't feel like everyone is just virtual and out of touch. It
Yeah,
brings the human element
and what's
to
funny, I'm jealous of your community. I think everyone at Epic knows the Oklahoma community. You guys do a really good job of putting it out there. When I see posts, I feel like you guys all hang out together, after school and get together. Like
and
no,
and we're spread all across the state. I mean, we
yeah.
really are. We're not all in one metro area. But the I recently was invited to be part of the group text of the area leaders for Oklahoma. And I was like, okay, what did I do to earn this? But I'll take it. And it really is amazing how even their day-to-day wins and their questions, and maybe they're taking an afternoon off and they're taking the kiddos to an event or something and they're sharing pictures, like those area leaders have created this bond and this trust, and they learn from each other. And so through their collaboration, then the agents across our state are getting the same experience as well. So it's really, really fun to see in action.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I've been enjoying seeing it too, even just on Facebook. I'm always clicking and liking. I'm like, what are they up to now? Like, okay. Yeah, I have a group in California too, so it feels like a completely, different subset from the rest of the people that I know at Epic. So it really does do a great job of separating that isolation by downline, right? We don't even talk about downline half the time at Epic, which is super cool. Everyone's kind of, equal. But switching gears for a second, talking about
Sure.
your team. Tell me about the significance of advocacy, and the reasoning. behind you naming your team the Advocate Group?
All right. So if I go back to the conversation with my business partner, where she initially pulled me into a conversation and she had this vision for wanting to create a small brokerage, we were both very active members of the LGBTQ plus Real Estate Alliance. If you're not familiar with it, it is a national organization. It's part of the multicultural groups of National Association of Realtors. And my friend Kelly and I were both serving on the board for the state of Oklahoma. And that sparked her curiosity of creating a brokerage and having a roster of diversity and allies. And but then she was very specific too. Initially, she didn't want brand new agents and she wanted this or that. She was creating the profile, which I asked her to do. So we took that idea and when we formed it into a team, we're like, how can we be different? We're not a traditional team. Yes, I am a team lead, but I'm not like this boss or this manager of the team. We operate a little differently, and so we made as we were crafting the team and defining it and coming up with a vision, we're taking the portion that the team members pay out of their transactions into the team account. We take that and we support the agents on the team with just bringing value. Yet the main thing we do is we find organizations to contribute to, whether that be financially or whether that be buying things to contribute, like when back to school season rolls around not long from now, contributing backpacks or items to stuff backpacks with, those type things. So, we are your advocate in housing as realtors. We advocate for property rights on any given day. We're advocating for our clients, and it's an extra layer of advocacy in our eyes to just the diversity of our communities.
I love that. Yeah. And I wanted to make sure that people kind of really knew behind, not just you as a coach, but really what drives you and
Right.
what kind of people or clients that would be attracted to you. Really like what we stand for. And I love that about, the people that we brought onto Epic. And I've learned something really cool and really unique about almost every agent that has come on here. And it's really been awesome to see. But I have to ask though, I know this part of you, but if you weren't coaching, selling real estate and motivating, what would you be doing in life?
Well, my gosh, that is such a great question because I definitely am one to stay busy, and I'm definitely one to engage with people. So I have to have my social interacting and all. And I'm just at heart, I am all about development of others. And so my gosh, and then that leads me to coaching and training, but
Okay, well, you have found your perfect career, so
right,
that's it.
right, right. And but I could even see, outside of real estate, there's still being that need for developing others. And I could see doing that through education, an education career. I could also even see that through medicine and potentially rehab. Like rehabilitation, people that have had injuries and they're developing themselves again to walk and to function. I mean that type of thing.
Are you into
I would
medicine?
have whatever I do, I have to see that I've made an impact and that tomorrow is better than the day before type thing.
Okay, so you are the true Chuck Wells. Like that's exactly who you are. I was gonna say, are you into medicine? Because it wouldn't surprise me if you're like, oh yeah, I'm also a doctor.
I'm no, I'm not. I'm not. Wasn't that disciplined back in the college days.
Well, yeah. I mean, science and math, not my thing.
Right.
I'm going to be completely honest with that. All right, one more, like just to get into your brain a little bit.
Sure.
Question was, where do you see the future of the brokerage, right? Where we're at right now with between the agent and the brokerage, and how is Epic Realty affecting that, or what role does Epic play in that future or vision of what a brokerage is going to look like in the next 10 years or so?
Well, let me give you a little backstory first of why the statement I'm going to make is valid. So I was licensed in 2001, and at that time, I was licensed at 31 years old, and I
Mhm.
was young in the industry at that time. Everyone thought I was really young, and now 20 plus years later, I witness individuals coming out of high school and directly into real estate. So the demographic of our agents itself is changing and
Okay.
evolving. Also, coupled with that, when I began, it was this was in Oklahoma City. We had the first MLS system that was Windows based, right around the time, right before it launched, right before I began. And prior to that was the kind of the old computer screens with the green little dot fonts and the dots made up the letters and the numbers. Well, I can't even think DOS, I think
DOS,
was
yeah, that's
yes,
my joke
what
for
that was
everything.
called.
DOS.
I was struggling there for a minute. And I kept thinking our industry is so far behind with technology. We're
Hmm.
creeping along while others are running. Okay, that's not true right now. It has changed so much
Hmm.
in the last 2 to 3 to 4 years. And so when I talk about the future, one, I think it's incredibly exciting to see where Epic goes and to think that I'm going to witness it and I have a hand in it. But where is it going? I think it's limitless because it's going to grow at such a fast pace because our ownership, our leadership, the big minds of our company, they're not creating this from scratch. They're not reinventing the wheel. They're merging where like the industry is and where
Right.
technology is and going full speed ahead. And so that's very exciting to me that it's going to evolve. And we're already international as of like next month. The commitment's already there.
Yeah.
But what might have taken other companies a decade and a half to achieve,
Hmm.
it's kind of like the compound effect because we got a head start by knowing where the industry already was and then having a clear vision of what they wanted it to be. And so like I said, what might take other companies 15 years to get to where they are, this is going to be half that time, 7 years or so. So
Right.
I'm really, really excited. And our ownership, leadership are younger. And so, they've got very active minds and they think in possibilities and they think with no limits. And it's not just about what is the Epic agent going to experience. I have heard Josh himself say his true vision and goal is to impact the industry, to change it for all agents, not just the agents that are with Epic. And of course, we want you to join us if you're a fit with us, and we want you to be with us. Yet, we're also just really hope and we're confident that we're going to rub off on others and they're going to start offering benefits and opportunities like we do as well.
Yeah, and it comes through too, again, with how Josh speaks and things that he posts online that he's not angry, he's not competitive with other brokerages. He really did want to change it, right? Of course, he's driven and he wants success for himself and his agents, but he's welcoming success for all other agents and all other brokerages too. And that's why like I cling to this because I've always been that kind of person that yeah, I'm competitive, but I'm also not a jerk about it. And I want other people to be successful too. So if I can be successful and everyone else underneath me or like around me can be successful, then that's amazing. But once you start getting really nasty competitive with me, that's when I shy away, right? And this is a very nurturing environment. So I agree with you. So like Epic has the blueprint already, whereas other brokerages are trying to adapt, right? And that means sometimes they have to change some fundamentals of their brokerage and it's going to affect the agents. Whereas we are on pace to make those changes and make those, additions as we grow.
Yeah.
Um, which is, I mean, that was just my take on it, right? So
Definitely. And Adrian, something there's a saying that I had heard and it's in the form of a question and it says, "Are you playing to win or are you playing to not lose?
Okay.
And what that means to me is if I'm playing to win, I'm comparing myself to the person on each side of me. And
Right.
all I have to do to win is one extra little step. So what if that's just good enough, but not great, you know? And if I'm playing not to lose, yes, I'm aware of others around me, yet I am focused on my vision. And to win, going for that vision. It doesn't matter where the people on each side of me ends up along the way, you know?
That's
So,
super
and I
cool.
truly believe that's just I mean, we hear it on our Wednesday calls, our Zooms, and they're just like, "What? 70 benefits? How, what? Let's go for 700." You know, it's just it's opportunity, and it's exciting. It really
It's
is.
exciting. And sometimes I think you're a bot because you just have the right saying for everything. You should create your own app so that when people wake up, it'll just do a Chuck inspiration video, you know? We're definitely going forward with that one. So let's talk about that off camera, the Chuck
Okay.
app.
Okay.
So yeah. All right. So we're gonna get to know Chuck just a little bit better as a person. All right. Got some questions for you, Chuck, before we
All right. We'll see what these surprises are.
well, we want to have fun here. I have to know, what are you watching on TV right now?
Well, I watch a variety of things. I just finished a short series, and I'm a fan of short series. You make me hyperventilate just a little bit if you go, "Oh, this is a great one," but there's 8 seasons of it. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, the
Oh, too much.
commitment to that."
Yeah.
But there's a funny one recently on Netflix that I just wrapped up last night called Overcompensating.
Okay. I haven't heard of that one.
Okay, it not to spoil it. It's all about becoming your authentic self.
Wow, that's like right in alignment with you, isn't it?
But it's fun. It's in a very like overly comedic way. It's fun.
Okay. Good to know.
Yeah.
I'm put that on the list. All right.
Uh,
So if I'm going out to Oklahoma City for one night and I only had time for one restaurant, what would be your recommendation?
oh my. You know, so many people will say you've got to go down to Cattleman's, which is this diner that since the early 1900s, and it's down in our stockyard area. That's not where I would take you. I think the
Okay.
best place would be downtown. We have it's called the Devon Tower. Devon is an oil and gas company here in Oklahoma City, and there's a restaurant on the top floor. I forget this right off the top of my head. I think it's like 52 stories up or something. And I just think that would be the most fun setting where you could really just see. We are not a mountainous area, yet we're not totally flat either.
Okay.
So you can see for many miles from the top of that building.
The food has to be good too, though. So hopefully
Oh
it's
yes,
good food. Okay.
it's called Vast. So
Okay.
very like nice dining and good food.
Okay. I'm putting it on my list.
All
All right.
right.
Coke or Pepsi?
I'm Pepsi.
Okay. I like that. Most people say Coke. My one of my best friends will love you for that because she works for PepsiCo. So go for it. All right, and you can choose to pass this, but I would like for you to answer it. What's your biggest fear?
Oh my gosh. I have two.
Okay.
Um, not being liked
Okay.
and failing. It
Okay.
is so hard for me to embrace the concept of failing forward. Yet, I have to remind myself if I'm hesitant in taking that next step or I'm hesitant in taking the chance, I have to remind myself that failing is simply learning. And that gives you the opportunity to readjust, and move forward, in a different way.
So for me, it's being held at gunpoint, never never being loved. Chuck's all failure. Okay.
Well, I mean, I have some morbid fears too, but
I know, I'm kidding. Like maybe in the second interview, that's when we'll peel the onion back a little bit more, right? Okay, well then how about this? Something about yourself that might surprise other people.
all right. Well, Adrienne already knows this one. I just kind of shocked her one day. So those that know me and get to know me, they really think I'm a city kid. And I actually grew up on a horse ranch and cattle ranch. My parents raised quarter horses. I call it, in this day and time in real estate, I call it flipping horses because they would buy a weanling, which is a baby basically weaned off of its mom and of good breeding and genetics, and then they would condition it for a year and sell it for a profit. Most of them were race horses. We didn't deal much with the show industry type horses, but I had to earn my keep, so to speak. My dad was very much one that you have chores, and through once I was of the age to help and
Mhm.
have chores, I was held to that, and so through late elementary school all the way through about my freshman year of high school, you were up at 6 in the morning. You went and did chores and fed the all the livestock and the horses, and then you came and got ready for school, and we're off to school, and you got home and you did it all again. So I was very skilled. I wouldn't say acclimated because if I had to do it all over again, I'd be like, oh heck no.
Yeah.
But sometimes, it's like I can get that. You might go to like a fair or a festival, and you go by the petting zoo, and you get that smell of animals, and it brings back a little PTSD sometimes.
Oh, okay. So now
Of the oh
we
my
are peeling
gosh,
back the layers a little
the
bit.
growing up
So
years. Yeah.
Chuck had said quarter horses, right? And I was
Huh?
like, what?
Yeah.
I'm from New York. I've lived in New York, California, Boston, and I did no idea what it was. So
So quarter horses have a tendency to be a little more muscular and they're a little shorter than some of the other breeds. And
okay.
so in racing, they only run a quarter of a mile. So it's a very short sprint and they're fast because they're muscular. Then you look at like thoroughbreds, which we all know, like the Kentucky Derby, and we have fun around celebrating the Kentucky Derby. The thoroughbreds are taller and leaner, and so they go longer distances.
Okay.
And yeah, that's the difference in the two.
Okay, so we're learning stuff in this show too. Love it. All right, now this is the last question for you, and it's not meant to be sad or anything, but what do you want written on your tombstone?
Oh my gosh.
My mom would get so mad at me for asking this kind of question. Why are
Right?
you talking about
Right?
death, Adrienne?
I mean, my mind immediately went to a Facebook post I'd made within the last week or so, and it had a birth date and a death date, and there was a dash in the middle, and the question around the photograph was, what's the dash going to
I
be?
remember that too.
You know?
Mhm.
And I if nothing else, I love people to celebrate me and say that I was kind, that I was impactful, and that I lived and just, lived out loud, lived furiously, and made the most of my life.
And the way I would say it is just YOLO. I've been throwing that out a lot lately. So I love that. And I think that's amazing. And I do think it really speaks to who you are. And I am so, so grateful that you spent some time, carved out some time to join us today on your move. Thank you so much, Chuck. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me here. I
Of
hope
course.
you come
And
back a
if
second time.
anybody, yeah, and if anybody wants to get more information on Epic, whether you're in Oklahoma or not, want to pick Chuck's brain, please reach out to him online. He's very accessible, and you are definitely going to see more from him moving forward at Epic. And we are so excited to see that. So, again, thanks, Chuck, and thank you, everybody else, for joining us today.